Delaware Thursday. It is March 19th. I'm Peter MacArthur. Thanks for coming by today. You know, every now and again, we like to take a look at what's happening in the marketplace for potentially your next job. And when we do that, we talk with Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark. We're doing that today. Chris, hi. How are you, sir?
Peter, it's great to be on the show. Doing great.
Good. It's great, and it's timely because there is nothing boring right now about what we're seeing with many of the developments within the job market. So let me ask you this, Chris, first of all. The job numbers that we saw in January, they were strong. Then they drop sharply in February. What should we make of that?
I'm going to try to take some of the drama out of it, which might make it less entertaining. Because we had a great month, followed by a not-so-great month. You put it all together, and it's an okay story. That's really where we are. It's okay. But this is not an environment that's creating a lot of jobs. In fact, we've had momentum 3 months in a row of building jobs. It peaked in January, 130,000 jobs. And then we got this surprise in February. We were planning 50,000 jobs, and we lost 92. What's interesting is there's a lot of anomalies in that. There was a big strike. A bunch of healthcare workers out west were out of work.
Yeah.
Should I say weather? We've had plenty of weather, and I think it's not just in the mid-Atlantic. But we are at a point where these factors impact job creation. And there's been a narrowing of the industries that are hiring. So this is all contributing to that weakness that you see. I see optimism in hiring from CEOs and purchasing surveys, but the data doesn't quite say that yet.
Well, let me ask you this. We've also seen a fair amount of kind of major revisions to job data of late. And I'm curious as to whether, does that murky up, if you will, the job market picture? Is it harder to define where we are when those revisions are a part of the formula?
Man, it sure does. It also means that we're never immune to change, including the government and the BLS that does this stuff. But they use models, and they're seeing large errors. Therefore, they're making large adjustments.
Yeah.
And they always make adjustments for seasonality when, like, school's out or people send in surveys late. Believe it or not, it's still like a paper survey. So lately, the adjustments have been large, in the millions, and that makes it really hard. But the information is valuable. We just kind of got to know that there's lots of information and tools and can't overreact to the trends.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, let me ask you this. For employers and for job seekers, Chris, how much do these reports actually matter in day-to-day hiring decisions, would you say?
Well, boy, I love a one-liner. Can I say we need to go on an information diet on your radio show? Probably not, right? Like that's, but I'm trying. We can make numbers tell us whatever story we want, and I don't mean that in any devious way. But what are you trying to convince yourself of? Is this a good job market to get a job? Is this a bad time to hire? So we're all influenced by what we read and hear, and there's an emotional aspect to jobs and work. I think we'd all agree with that. But companies are always hiring, and people are always looking for work. And we all know when times are roaring, we can feel it. I kind of prefer the eye test, talking to business leaders and owners and looking around for, now hiring signs. I roll that all up, and I look at it. So there are always jobs to be had. You just can't let this get to you.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. Although, for the last year or so, we've seen the slow hire, slow fire environment. And that's a pretty marked difference between back when anyone could kind of get 3 offers for a job by, several days after maybe you send in your resume. And as we look at this landscape in 2026, taking that stuff into consideration, what's our story here in Delaware?
Well, we are completely out of this 2 jobs for every worker era that was prevalent in Delaware. Right now, unemployment has crept up to 5.2% just in the last few months. So we do have more people looking for work than we have jobs. It's not a crash, but it is kind of a reality check. But I've been on your show a while. I think the market is normalizing. So if we stay right here, I believe it's healthy, and it reflects vacancies that we all need to move and have a healthy job market. If it races past 5.2%, it's a completely different story, Pete.
All right, so let me ask you this then. If we're looking for a job right now, what are the industries where we're seeing safe positions, and which ones are struggling on the other side of the coin?
Well, it's really a tale of two economies. Healthcare, nursing, those fields that support that in education. If you're in the driver's seat, if you're in those sectors. In fact, the concerning part in the narrowing of our job growth, that's really where Delaware's jobs are coming from. But on the flip side, our manufacturing base has really softened. We lost hundreds of industrial jobs last year.
Yeah.
So that's a tough place to be. But those skills are often in demand, and I do see them coming back. But it does speak to what we went through. Construction has rebounded. Hospitality is up and down, really ping-ponging. And logistics are up again. IT, maybe surprising, maybe not with the role of AI and changes in automation, is down. And professional services, which, really Delaware is known for, is really hardest hit lately.
Mm. What about this? I don't know how safe it is to go to this side of things, but what about strategies on the employer side of this picture we're taking a look at?
I think it's an important question. What I've seen is, and this won't surprise anyone, it's just the headline, organizations, it's become in to do more with less. Just as it was in to hire like crazy during the pandemic. And I think leaders follow trends. So right now it's, can I do more with less? Can I use technology and automation to enhance productivity? But I think what's really important, just run through a few points. I try to make it as interesting as possible. Still an environment of few layoffs, much less than 2019. It's just big headline stuff. What we haven't talked about is organizations are being hurt by immigration changes. Many employers are losing the workforce that have lost their work visas. That is why unemployment across the country is kind of staying, relatively unchanged. The workforce is changing. The boomers are leaving the workforce in key areas. You got this thing called AI that we're all just trying to grab, right, and understand really what it is. And by the way, if you don't know AI in your job, it's coming in your job. It may not take it, but it's going to be in your job. So all of this is very confusing to employers. But what I'm seeing in this low employment environment is every organization has critical openings. Many are looking for talent. So no matter which side of the aisle you're on, there is still an opportunity.
Well, Chris, you always manage to wrap these discussions up in a nice bow, and I'm going to ask you to do that again now. If I'm listening right now, driving around, I'm a business owner, or if I'm driving around right now and I'm looking to, update my resume coming up maybe even this weekend, what's your advice to navigate this scenario we've laid out here?
Such a perfect question. For the employer, flexibility is your best friend in this environment of uncertainty. So change it up. Don't be afraid to realize that I know you can't take on full-time overhead. So, use contingent labor, use temps, use outsourcing. I'm not saying call placers, but it is a great strategy that people forgot about the last 3 years. It became something where, you wanted to hire to your own payroll. Well, this is a strategy that makes a ton of sense. Now, if you're a job seeker, you have to embrace the Uberization of work. Mm-hmm. Don't hold out for the perfect full-time job with a corner office. Take that contract role. Try freelance gig. Consider being an entrepreneur. Just get your foot in the door, because that's how people are finding their next gig, through their network or through a brokerage of some kind. And honestly, temp work is back in vogue after a 3-year hiatus, and it's probably the way to your next career step.
Sure thing. Chris Burkhardt's joining us, Placers Staffing in Newark. If you want to find out more about what Chris and his colleagues do, myplacers.com. Glad we had a chance to talk today, Chris, and we'll do it again not too far down the road.
Look forward to it. Can't wait.
All right, very fine. Chris Burkhard at Placer Staffing.